Welcome back to Weems Motor Co. We're going to start bolting some stuff together for this born-free build. Stick around. That's right, folks, you heard that correctly. Today in this video, we are going to be bolting together all of these pieces and parts for our Born Free 16 build that we have titled Ultor, which is the Punisher in Latin. And we are going to make this into a roller. Reason being is because we have a lot of more fabrication to do, mounting that rear fender, getting the gas tank thing figured out, and all of the other little bits and pieces, foot pegs, yada yada yada, all kinds of stuff going on. But in order to do all of that, we have to bolt that frame together, get that engine in there, get that gearbox in there, throw the front end on, the front wheel, the rear wheel, and we can figure out where we're going. So by the end of this video, you guys are going to see the lines, the rolling chassis for our Born Free 16 build. So without further ado, let's grab that frame. So here's the frame for the Born Free 16 build. This is a 1952 Triumph factory rigid frame that we have set up to have a 4-inch ride height. That's why we have the block underneath there. Did some modifications to get that ride height to sit nice and level just right with that custom made front end and the custom rear wheel and front wheel that we are putting on here. So everything is going to look nice, super tight, super cool. So there's our building block, our frame, and the first thing we need to do is get that rear wheel on there. Now, here's our rear wheel. This is a 19-inch aluminum shouldered rim with a 19x4 special tire that we could not find in the States, so we ended up having to get it from the Netherlands. But that tire is no longer being made, so we wanted to have that thing as a special part of this Born Free build. The hub on this particular motorcycle is from a BSA. Now this is a BSA quick detachable hub, which means, we've talked about this before, that you can leave the brake plate and the sprocket into the frame while the wheel is out. Now for ease of this video, I have it all together and we could just slide it right in the frame and tighten that up. But super cool elements to have on our Born Free build. Super nice to be able to get this stuff together and have our good friends over at Buchanan Spokes custom make us a set of spokes to get that hub into this rim. So without further ado, let's throw it on the frame. Looking great sitting on that 52 Triumph frame. If you did notice, we had to make a special spacer to go on there so that this thing would line up everything the way it's supposed to be. So looking cool, looking awesome. Now next thing to do is get this thing strapped down so that we can move on and put that front end on. So let's throw some straps on here. In order for us to get that front end on there, we have to get the races into the neck of the frame, and we have a top cup and a bottom cup that we'll put in there. And then we lay in the bearings, which on the bottom we have 20 1/4-inch ball bearings, and then on the top we have 22 3/16 ball bearings, all loose. We have to pack them in individually. Once we have those bearings in place, then we can take that custom-made stem or that custom-made front end and place the stem into the frame and start assembling that front end. So without further ado, let's get the races in there, start loading those ball bearings, and then we can get that stem in and get the front end on. Let's get to work. we got that stem up into the frame, we can move on to putting the front end on. Now, you guys watched a little bit, just a little portion of that front end. Well, we are almost done with it with only a couple things left to do. And this is our front end. Now, super cool design. We did use those Ducati triple trees. Had to modify them to make them work with this application and make them look cooler. But the overall idea of this front end is inspired by old Harley-Davidson pea shooters, grass track or speedway racer motorcycles, and also an uber rare racing event that they have in Japan called auto racing, where these racers are quarantined and the bikes are quarantined. They don't sell parts from them. If you need a front end like this, you have to make it yourself, and that's what we did. So very much inspired by that Japanese auto racing style. Now, we can get this front end thrown up into place, and then we can move on to getting that front wheel on. So let's get the front end on. Alright, not looking too shabby if I do say so myself. Love the look of that front end. Love the fact that I built it from scratch using just those Ducati triple trees. So looking super cool. Obviously it's not the finish that it's going to be. It's going to be really nice and shiny and pretty when we get all done, but this is getting us into a mock-up so that we can finish everything else on it and we can get that front wheel on there. Speaking of front wheels, let's check it out. This is our front wheel for Ultor. Now, this front wheel is really super cool because number one, Triumph only made this wheel for 1 year, and that was 1954. These are nicknamed the pie crust front wheel because of this ribbed pattern that we have on the front. It was really important for me to carry that look throughout the bike. So that's why we decided to go with that BSA quick detachable rear hub, because it does have the ripples and everything too. On top of that, both the back and the front drums have vents, these little ribs that act as cooling vents for these wheels. So super cool. We carried that pattern into our custom made spacers. So super cool wheel, obviously custom application with the aluminum shouldered rim. We ordered custom made spokes from Buchanan to lace this up. This would have originally been a 19-inch wheel on this, but this is a 21. Super cool look, got the front brake. Now let's just get the thing onto the rolling chassis. So something to note is that these wheels are just basically laced together. They're not true, they're not tightened. It's just to get everything into this rolling configuration. So once we get done, we have to disassemble everything and send it out for chrome, for paint, for polish, all of those things. But we are moving right along, and I believe the next thing to do is to throw the handlebars on there. So let's go grab these bars. Now, these are not the handlebars that we are going to be using on these bikes, but these are the same dimensions that we are going to be using. So we are using these as basically mock-up, and we'll be sending these out to have them custom made for us to our specific specifications, because we're going to do a little bit of modifications to them. But we can go ahead and get these tossed up on there so we can get some bars on there, and we can move on to engine, gearbox, fender, stuff like that. So let's get these bars on. And here is our mock-up engine. Now this isn't the engine we're using for the project. The engine we're using for the project will be beautiful, immaculate, shiny, wonderful. But this is what we use for our mock-up purposes, to get everything lined up, make sure that we have clearance on things like gas tanks and the chain alignments and all of that stuff. So these are nothing more than just empty cases that I've kept really clean, and use them just as I need them periodically. But before we throw this into the frame, we need to talk about a generator really quick, and I've got a special one for you. So typically on these pre-unit Triumph front motor mounts, you would see a huge hole on both sides. Well, that's where the generator would mount and go up there and provide all your charging system for your lights and things like that. Well, these are actually front motor mounts off of an alternator version of a pre-unit Triumph, which didn't use a generator. They used an alternator on the end of the crankshaft. So I had to modify these, but I did it in a way because I have a special generator. Now, when I was doing my last Born Free build, Born Free 13, I was wanting to think outside of the box and do something really cool. I was using a Triumph duplex frame, which has 2 front down tubes. Very limited space. They didn't even have generators on those, and I was like, hey, let's throw a generator on a duplex frame because nobody's done it. So didn't end up going that route because we went the race route, and you don't need lights on a race bike. So I said, hey, I built this generator pretty much from scratch, and why don't we put it in service for this one? So here we have a nice little small generator that I built that produces 6 volts of electricity, which these bikes were originally 6 volt, that will be mounting in, and I just had to make small clearance right there to fit this little teeny tiny generator in there. Super excited to have more handmade parts on this bike, but in order to get it on here, I have to put it through the hole first, then lay the motor in there, and then mount it into the frame. So it's the process of building custom motorcycles, but it's too easy. We got this. So let's throw the generator in there, get the motor in there, and get everything buttoned up, and then we can move on to that gearbox, and then we'll look at that rear fender. Alright, I went ahead and pulled the timing cover off just so you guys can see how this generator works. So it protrudes right from that outer portion of the timing cover, and the gear lines up with the exhaust cam gear. So as that turns, it spins that little gear, generating power, 6 volts, enough to power a headlight, a tail light, all you need on this show bike. So that's how it looks. Super cool, right? Now let's move on to the gearbox. Alright, so next thing up, getting that gearbox housing into there so that we can move on with the rest of the process. A lot of work, a lot of things happening, but it moves really quickly when you're doing this mock-up stuff. So let's get that gearbox into the frame. And there you have it, folks. We have a roller for the Born Free 16 build. Lots of work still to do. We got to get a fender, got to get a tank, got to get all the controls, all of those things going. But I think today's video is going to get wrapped up right here with our rolling chassis. So we thank you for hanging out. If you are new around here, jump down and hit that subscribe button. If you really like the video, hit that thumbs up, turn those notifications on, and let everyone know what's going on right here at Weems Motor Co. Peace.